Quest update v79 is starting to drop in headsets. We saw on the public test channel last week that it was coming. And fun story, I actually got the update this morning on my headset, and the reason that I figured out that I must have gotten a system update is because I was having so many problems with my Quest. I'm currently working with FitXR doing a month-long challenge. FitXR workouts every single day, hitting their challenge marks. Day 3, I'm sore, I'm tired. I go to put the headset on today and do my FitXR workout, and I get in the app and I have no audio. So I think, oh, this must be an app issue. I exit FitXR, I go into Demio, still no audio. Speakers on board just aren't working at all. I restart the headset, and then I go back into FitXR, and FitXR won't work anymore. It tells me, hey, you need an account, you need to be connected to the Wi-Fi, and I'm talking this through as all these problems are happening, and Editor John's like, did your headset update to v79? I look in the section, the system update, and yes, it's on v79. Luckily, a reinstall of FitXR fixed that one issue, but I still have no audio on my headset. I've already submitted this to Meta. They had me put in a bug report and everything else. So if you're having this issue, the headphone jack does still work for me. Luckily, I had a set of Rebuff Reality ears laying around. Not my favorite headset by any means, but it does strap to my headset. It does work. So I was able to use audio through that, but I still have no audio coming through the Quest speakers. I verified that there's nothing else connected, nothing Bluetooth that might be hogging the audio, and the volume button goes up and down on the screen, but it just does not work. So if you're in the early public test channel, you may want some caution about jumping to v79, or you may want to hold your headset back on it, or if you're having audio issues like I am, get some headphones in the meantime. And I'm not the only one having issues, with people on Reddit echoing that you may want to lock your headsets to v78, especially if you were one of the people who has a Quest Pro, with one person citing they even had to send their headset back now to be replaced. Videos showing evidence of artifacting showing up alongside v79. Has yours already jumped to v79, and if so, are you having any issues? With all the issues aside, let's talk about what supposedly is coming and what is good. Of course, a lot of code scrubbing done by Luna. If you don't know Luna over on X or Twitter, you should be following them if you're interested in finding out a lot of stuff about the Quest ahead of time, a lot of leaks. Remember that new navigator that showed up? You probably have it by now if you don't. It was something that we talked about in the news, and I said was another way to get around on your Quest, but I was finding was just kind of causing me extra steps getting from place to place. Well, they're continuing to advance and change that up, and now that gray smear that was in between the new menus and the old menus, they added a function where you can go turn that off. That can be transparent, which was a heavily requested feature by people. I actually got this idea from Steve Knows. I can't take credit for this.
But first, thank you, Luna.
But Luna's becoming so well known in the industry that they've started accepting donations through Ko-Fi for all their hard work, code scrubbing, everything they do. So I jumped over and did that too. If you're like me, I'd definitely consider supporting them because they get us tons of information at a time. But there is good news and fun stuff coming with v79, things we were looking forward to. Before we get to that, I need to make a few quick disclaimers. One, this isn't a totally botched update that's going out to everyone. I am part of the public test channel, and part of the purpose of that is to roll these updates early, let people test them out, report the bugs before everyone gets them. So in theory, this is doing its job. I've already found a bug, I've already reported it, so hopefully by the time this rolls to everybody, not everyone will be dealing with this issue. And then 2, we talk about this in every update, but remember, these things do roll out slowly in bits to people, and we don't really understand the system of how they roll them out. So just because you have v79 or you're in the public test channel, you may not get some of these features yet. You may not get them when it rolls out. You may not get them for a couple updates, just like I didn't. But one of the ones I'm most excited about is I finally, with this update, now have the hide app button in my headset. That's one that was supposed to show up updates ago, but it looks like more people are starting to see it. That means that if, like me, you've had hundreds of free games on your headset, because we've tested hundreds for all the free games lists we made for all of you out there, I had to have them all still in my library and just bury them over time, leaving them down at the bottom. Now I can actually go through and hide them. And in that new quick access menu that came with the navigator, you can now unpin certain apps if you want, so that you can select what is going to be there at the forefront of the headset when you turn it on, so that you can more easily get into what you want to rather than navigating menus. And one of people's least favorite thing about the new navigator was that weird gray smear that came in behind it, covered up everything behind. Now people have spotted options to disable that, change the color, change the transparency. Unfortunately on mine, I still couldn't find that in the new update, but I can't wait for that because I understand why a lot of people complained about that. It just felt like it took you out of the mixed reality more. It was in the way, and so that is an improvement. There's some clues in the code to some new adaptive lighting. So depending on the time of day, the lighting in your room, whether it's warm or cool, the headset could potentially adapt the text color and everything else to match what it looks like around you more. They're really trying to merge that gap between virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it at this point, but make it feel like your headset, your floating windows, all of that is more the part of the real world than it is just inside your headset. Maybe if we get the ability to really pin a window on the wall and have it always stay there like we want to, that could really feel like that wall just always has your music player. And with that, the possibility of us being able to have not just 3 floating windows, but up to 9. Something Luna pointed out here in the code, although of course, like other features, this could be something for the future. This could be something just internally at Meta. They're still testing. We may not see this, but if you could have 9, if the headset can even handle running 9 applications simultaneously, that could be really cool, although it would kind of be a lot. Maybe you just want to have Gandalf dancing to Epic Sax Guy on 9 different windows all around you in your room at the same time. Maybe that's just how you want to live your life. An ability to start flat capturing 2D windows. This would mean that instead of capturing your entire view like we do now, where windows are small, you could just capture a window for content creation, even bug reporting. This could be helpful to focus in on what you're wanting instead of having your entire view, multiple windows, and nothing really being clear enough to see anything or even zoom in on. Some clues about PC games showing up possibly in the library, not enough to go on here to figure out what this is yet, whether this means on your Quest, it would start telling you, hey, if you play this on your PC, you can get higher fidelity, or whether on your PC, it reminds you can take this mobile. If it's crossplay, if you can continue your progression from where you were at in either version of the game. We don't know for sure, but luckily it's not all bad news with v79. Just so far for the public test channel, for those of us who are in it early, we're supposed to be finding these bugs, dealing with them, but I just hope, unlike in the past, if we report all these will be fixed before it rolls to everyone. As we covered, there was a lot of flack coming back at BOZ about the last update still having issues even by the time they rolled to the public, causing more issues for developers, but we covered that in another video. If you're interested, I'll leave a link at the end of this video. We announced to you that there is now an Xbox Quest edition out there. If you didn't see that news, it is a 3S only, comes with an Xbox controller, 3 months of Game Pass, and basically they're marketing this thing to people who have Xboxes, want Xbox, or want a mobile Xbox as its own headset. To our surprise, we did end up receiving one of these from Meta this last week, and now Meta has announced that they have already sold out of them. Now, this is only Meta's website itself. There are other distributors that are selling this. Best Buy still seems to have them, but of course, already on eBay, we're seeing them marked up for ridiculous prices, $530, $600. And unfortunately, as this sounds like reason to celebrate that people are still buying Quest, getting new ones, we don't know how many Meta actually produced, how many they sold through their website, and they haven't announced anything about that yet. It only took 3 days to do it through Meta's site, but even as VR enthusiast Nathy pointed out, this really isn't anything to celebrate. If we knew how many units were actually produced for this collaboration, this could be really exciting news. I'd seen multiple places on Reddit, other people talking about how they called their local Best Buy, and most Best Buys only had about 2 of them on hand. So who knows how many of these were actually made. They said they were very limited edition, and it seems that is going to be the case. So if you are someone who really wanted that limited edition, you should probably jump on it sooner rather than later. But publications like Road to VR pointing out this even might be scalpers' fault that it's already sold out on Meta, because they might have bought them and started putting them up on eBay immediately. We did a breakdown, tested it out, and played around with it. And of course, if you want the limited edition, this seems to be the only one they're producing right now. There doesn't seem to be a 3, so you would have to buy this one. But ultimately, I still stand by my early reviews of the 3S. If you're paying this much and you can just reach a little further and get the 3, those new lenses, the way the headset feels, the comfort, it's still very worth it. And any Quest can do Xbox Game Pass, and the 3 frankly does a better job of it with the better screens. So if I hadn't been sent one personally, I wouldn't have gone out of my way to get one. It's cool and I love the colors, but for me, the Meta head strap that it comes with is uncomfortable. It doesn't have a battery on. I would be replacing that with likely a white head strap, because most of them are made white for the Quest 3 and the Quest 3S. I have other controllers I could use instead of the Xbox One, so I didn't really need an Xbox controller. So there's not a lot of reasons to go get unless you really want an Xbox One, or if you were someone who came in from the outside and just wants this for Game Pass. But we'll see if they announce how many they made once they've all sold out, and we'll see how much longer they last at other retailers. Just like every year when a new Quest is coming, it seems like the new Meta Ray-Bans or whatever AI smart glasses are launching this year have had so many leaks. We have a pretty good idea exactly what they are. And now even further leaks are showing off smart glasses that look like the Ray-Bans with a full wrist-worn controller. There had been rumors before there were 2 styles of them coming out, a sportier unit, which has now been fully announced. We already talked about with the Oakley Meta HSTN edition that are out. Those are similar to the Ray-Bans, but better battery life, better cameras, no built-in display. And of course, this one that the leak is pointing towards, a high-end pair codenamed Hypernova, which has a built-in display inside of it. This is not full augmented reality. It looks to be just one display in there, with something that you could potentially see pictures, video, read text messages. And then the wrist-worn controller does allow for gesture-based controlling with electromyography or EMG. We'd heard multiple times that these are priced somewhere between $1,000, $1,400, and most likely being announced at Connect this year, launched for pre-sale, then showing up a few weeks later, just like we've seen the life cycle of the Quest headsets. Of course, the most recent leaks here coming out from Luna saying they'll be named Meta Celeste. But this does bring up rumors that this will actually be Meta AI smart glasses and not necessarily be branded under Meta or Oakley or any other major name. I'm very curious about these and how they are doing more of these wrist-worn devices, whether the puck on your wrist is going to be computational power relocated there to save weight from the headset, whether it's just for those gesture-based controls. What I hope is that they would make editions of these that you could potentially attach your Apple Watch to, Samsung Watch, something that would still allow you the functionality of that and not have to wear yet another thing on your wrist with these. But the gesture-based controlling looks promising. You can see how people can use their hands basically doing the same thing you do with hand tracking now on the Quest, but it doesn't need to see anymore with the camera because of that wristband. Something that also makes me wonder if future Quests could come with 2 of these wristbands. We could have full hand track control without the need of always being able to see the cameras, and that could just be much more reliable. We probably won't get full details of these till Connect, but it seems like by now we have a pretty good idea of what's coming. And are any of you out there going to pay that price for them? $1,000 typically puts anything like this more into the enthusiast market and not necessarily the general consumer, but they do have a vision that maybe one day, if these glasses really take off and do well, that these could replace smartphones. We'll see. We've reported for years now about Meta acquiring different studios such as Beat Games, the owners of Beat Saber, how they bought up tons of studios in the realm of VR, but then how oftentimes those studios don't end up making more games for VR and sometimes even get shut down. Bring up the question, what does Meta do with all of these studios they acquired? Road to VR did a breakdown talking about how Meta has acquired 9 leading VR studios now between 2019 and 2022, the big heyday of VR it seems, and what actually happened with them. The full article is an interesting read. I'll leave a link down below, but some highlights here. Beat Games, of course, Beat Saber. We've seen them continue to develop for other headsets, continue to make updates, more DLC packs, but then the recent news we talked about how right after we found out PSVR 2 controllers were going to work on Apple, then Beat Games announced it was going to stop supporting PSVR or PSVR 2. Probably unrelated, but still the timing seemed impeccable. But all of the studio's founders from Beat Games that originally made Beat Saber in the first place have all left since, leaving it all under Meta's control. Sanzaru Games, which of course was known for Asgard's Wrath, was acquired back in 2020, and we did at least see an Asgard's Wrath 2, albeit a Quest forward version that did not have those high-end graphics we saw on PC. Still looked really good on Quest for what it was, but the big one everyone was really upset about, of course, Ready at Dawn, the creators of Lone Echo and Echo VR, closing that down even when still a lot of people were playing and there was a decent esports scene for Lone Echo. If you're interested in the full read, I'll leave it there, but it is wild when you actually see a breakdown because it feels like there's been so many studios they bought and so many shut down, including the one from Onward. It's wild to see them all in one spot and realize the impact that it's had on VR over the years. And that's my VR world this week. What's happening in yours? Let me know out there. Big thank you to all of you out there. Had an awesome week last week, a great birthday, some presents from all of you. Thank you once again for being with me, and I'll see you in another reality.